Well, it's Tuesday Wrestling, and you all know what that means. Well, today, first things first, we're going to be reviewing Across the Pacific and Ichigaya Square ChocoPro 321, with the main event being winner takes all. Masahiro Takanashi puts the Setup Pro Wrestling Openweight Championship on the line while he takes on his friend, tag team partner, business partner, however you want to call it, Ami Sakura for the Super Asia Championship. So the obvious question does tell, who will walk out as double champ? Of course, we move on to NWA. Powerrr is back. We have, of course, the National Heavyweight Title on the line. Billy Cyrus finally gets another opportunity at EC3 to claim a title that he has been gunning for. But the obvious thing is, will he be able to pull it off, or once again, EC3 controls his narrative? And then finally, we have NXT with the Judgement Day making their appearance. Anything could happen, but also we're building up to all the way to the Great American Bash. And of course, we got a couple of news updates to tell what events are being announced, who's being booked, what matches are set, and the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay right here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. If you like to subscribe, please click subscribe. If you like this episode, click like. So let's get this show on the road with our very first review. Our very first review is ChocoPro 321. As you know, this is winner takes all match in our main event, but we'll get to that. Our opening match, we have a three-way. We have Sayaka versus Antonio Honda versus Chonchiru. So this is a very interesting matchup. Now, keep in mind, I don't know if there's any implications over the fact that Chonchiru's involved due to the fact that he is one half of the Asian Dream Tag Team Champions. I know Honda has been trying to get his hands on those titles for a very, very long time, but unsuccessful. But Sayaka, as you know, who has established herself well with, she is probably determined to get it, but she has grown so much. But however, the experience of Chonchiru has never, ever failed at all. One thing that was interesting, he was able to apply a gory bomb onto Sayaka, landing right on top of Honda, and of course, pinning Sayaka. Of course, a very huge disappointing loss for Sayaka, but however, disappointing loss too for Honda, who decided to sing a song with his guitar. So that made him feel better anyway. Now, our next match, we have a tag team match. We have Chi Koshikawa and Sayaka Obihiro taking on Mei Suruga and Balinaki, better known as the Best Bros. Now, as you know, the Best Bros have always been on the top of their game no matter what. They've always proven why they are one of the best tag teams, even if they're not like in mainstream, but it's always been fun. I'm sure that she knows exactly what Mei Suruga would do because she had faced her many times over. So that's one of the things I do like about this match. But normally we would have assumed that this match would have ended with the Dolphin Press, but I'm sure that the opponents might have figured that one out. But luckily, Mei Suruga had other tricks up her sleeve. She applied a bridge, not a bridge suplex, but a bridge, where you just lay back onto, who was it? On Obihiro, and just like that, she won the match. Now, our main event that we've been waiting for is none other than winner takes all. We have Masahiro Takanashi, who is the current Setup Pro Wrestling, Thailand Pro Wrestling Openweight Champion. Now, this particular title comes from all the way from Thailand, which is a title that, of course, Masa won. And, of course, the newly crowned recently Emi Sakura, the Super Asia Champion, also is in line. However, this is a very interesting thing. These two individuals have history. They were the ones that got to move together in Thailand. So that's always been interesting. So you can say this is full circle for both of them. So the obvious question is, can one of them walk out as double champion? I mean, they threw a lot of that brutalizing moves on each other, no matter what, through the wall, chops, try to take each other's knees out, however they tried, but nothing was happening. Now, for the record, I did not know the time limit of this one, because unfortunately this match ended in a time limit draw. Now, I know for us here in the US, we're like saying, why do they have to end in a time limit? That's the rules in Japan. Don't ask me, I don't know why. I don't want to talk about it. I cannot answer it. So that's the way. I don't know if there'll be another opportunity for these two titles to be, be for one person. That's another thing. But we'll find out sooner or later. Now, last thing we have is the Jonkin tournament. I was very much surprised how this one is. I mean, the Best Bros were able to advance further. But I was a bit of surprise, and Masa didn't even advance that much. I mean, he's like the master of this whole thing with the Jonkin. But to my surprise, it was Sayaka who actually got to the end by defeating Antonio Honda just like that. I mean, she may not have won her match earlier, but at least she won the Jonkin tournament. So that's a good thing. So, I think that's pretty much it with ChocoPro. Just to inform you, soon they'll be uploading the Got to Move real soon. Hopefully we'll get to see the latest show, and I'll be reviewing that as well. And I think that's pretty much it for ChocoPro. I believe it's time for NWA Powerrr. Alright, it's been a while. Thank God, NWA Powerrr is back. So let's get started. Our first match is a non-title match. We have the Brothers of Funstruction, the Clowns, Yabo and Rufo. Rufo, I think that's her name. I don't know. But anyway, they take on the NWA World Tag Team Champions, Bestia 666, and of course, Bestia 666 and Mecha Wolf. Now, Vampiro is also by their side. This is a very interesting matchup because, as you know, the what's their name? The La Rebellion has always been proven why they are the dominant tag team in NWA. They haven't been able to be pinned due to their usual tricks, interference. But for some odd reason, that did not apply for this one. Somehow, the Brothers of Funstruction walked away with an upset. Who was it? Oh, yeah. There was a roll-up by Yabo onto Bestia 666. This is a surprising shock. So that means that in the rule of thumb, the Brothers of Funstruction could get a potential opportunity for the NWA World Tag Team title. So, if I was La Rebellion, I would make sure you try to stop this from happening. So, I think that is now the main focus for them. So, very upset. Now, our next match, we have Ricky Morton versus a guy named Kao Laxamania. As you know, the Mortons have now shown a different attitude with each other in every way. I did not anticipate, but Kerry Morton actually got involved, tripped Kao, but allowing for his daddy, Ricky Morton, to apply the Destroyer to walk away with the win. Now, our next interview, we have the generational wrestlers from both sides of the gender spectrum. We have Kobe Carino and Samantha Starr. Now, we all know their reputation. We know Samantha Starr has one title on her mind that she has in goal, and that is, of course, the NWA World Women's Television title. So, we don't know when will that happen, but we do know they may throw in the storyline where, of course, maybe Kenzie Page could definitely gun for the NWA Women's World title. However, Kobe Carino does have that same mentality as always. His goal is to win the NWA Junior Heavyweight title. So that is something that hasn't been strayed away from him just yet. So we'll see about that. Now, here's another confusion for everybody. We haven't heard from Zion since his father betrayed him. We're talking about Austin. Apparently that new masked man who calls himself Zion. Now, this one's the Zion that we know is with the C-Y-O-N. This new one goes with the Z. So you got the C and the Z. He faces Freeman. That match ended, of course, by submission. So I kind of figured that's how it's going to be to build up the story. But the obvious question that Joe Galley said, is he another of Austin Idol's long lost kids? Who knows? But we'll see. Now, you heard TMZ. Well, we have the DLC. So they're doing a lot of scoops on this one. I don't know why. I mean, we already have QTV and AEW. Do we really need this one in NWA? I don't know. But I'll leave that to you. Now, during the Australian tour, we have a brand new faction called the Southern Six. It's consistent of Alex Taylor, Kerry Morton, and of course, Real Billy Silas. As you know, they are doing things different, so they're now trying to cheat their way through on everything else. So we'll see what there take place. Now, our next match is an 8-woman tag team match. We have the members of Pretty Empower, Ella Envy, Roxy, and Kylie Page. They team up with Natalia Markova. Even though Markova tried to do a little pose with them, they don't see her that she's part of the Pretty Empower circle. They're facing against Ruthie J, our current NWA Women's World Tag Team Champions, M95, Maddie and Misa Kate, and of course our current NWA Women's World Champion, Camille. So you probably can guess thought in your minds, because one side has the titles in their spectrum. We're talking about the NWA Tag Team titles and the women's title. That could have been the factor that could have went. But however, Pretty Empower, who are determined to get their name and their spotlight back, they were able to apply a destroyer onto Ruthie J, thanks to Kylie, gave them the win. However, we know that Natalia Markova hasn't even finished yet with her story with Camille, who is determined to be the one to dethrone her. So that's the obvious thing we haven't heard yet. Now, since the downtime of the NWA Powerrr, Mae Valentine interviewed saying that the Country Gentlemen, as you know, there's going to be another tournament to determine number one contenders for the NWA United States Tag Team titles. The Country Gentlemen said they have defended these titles everywhere in these last few months. So now they're ready to take the next step to see who is man enough to take them off from them. Now, our main event is the NWA National Heavyweight Title. We have Thrill Billy Silas and EC3 once again. I thought this match could have been ending with Silas winning, but as you know, EC3 tried to get involved, tried to find a way to control the narrative, tried to use the belt in his favor against him, but Pollo Del Mar tried to stop him, but it did not work. But something interesting just took place. Thrill Billy shoved Pollo Del Mar, and because of this, it also cost him another title up his grasp. I mean, that was a huge disappointing, but I wouldn't be surprised if Thrill Billy decides to hurt Pollo Del Mar. We just don't know what's going to happen now. So we'll see about that. So I think that's pretty much it with NWA Powerrr. So I think we'll move on to our final review, NXT. Okay, our final review, NXT. It started out with the arrival of the Judgment Day. As you know, we haven't seen all three people in NXT for a long time, except for Dominic, who has never been part of the NXT roster before since he made the jump to the main roster. It's interesting. Now, this particular set came because of Carmelo Hayes, who invited the Judgment Day. Reason this whole story goes out began when Finn Balor attacked Seth Rollins after Seth Rollins successfully defended the WWE World Heavyweight Title against Braun Breaker. However, Finn Balor shows up and attacks him, who, as you know, these two men had some long history dating back years ago. However, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams decided to get involved to help Seth Rollins, but however, Rhea Ripley felt that they should have minded their own business. But Carmelo Hayes shows a lot of respect for Seth Rollins no matter what. Now, as you know, they are setting their stand. So basically, of course, later on we did see Mello and Trick decided, let's make this into a tag team match later on, which of course it did happen. Now, our next interview we have, of course, Tony D'Angelo. Now, his future is at stake, as you may know. The Stacks, in the other hand, has to find a way to pick up the win. The problem was, we don't know what really is going on. Barely, it seems that Gallus were behind the whole thing after all, to stop them from ever getting their hands on the tag team titles. But we'll see how that goes. But Tony D'Angelo knows what's at stake, so he's going to be okay with what's going to happen. Now, our next match, we have Duke Hudson and Andre Chase. They take on Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey. This is revenge for what they caused to Hell, costing her the NXT Women's title against Tiffany Strand. Now, you probably can guess this is going to be a real fun one. However, the one thing that was very interesting is, of course, Hell applied the Kimura lock on Drew Gulak. The ref did not see it because, of course, Charlie Dempsey got flatlined by Andre Chase, but Duke Hudson was the one who picked up the win. So that is a great way for Chase U to finally get themselves back on track. However, there is still some unfinished business with the Chase U. As you guys know, they did not like the fact how this whole thing with Hell went down. So they're saying sooner or later there's going to be a rematch for what those two turkeys cost her. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, before we hit to the next match, of course, Braun Breaker and Ilya Dragunov sent each other messages single-handedly, this and that. So I'm looking forward to that match until we get there. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Now, we all saw what happened with Von Wagner. People are now siding with Von because of what he's been going through. You know, talking about his past, about his childhood, and all this. And of course, Mr. Stone tries to be a friend to talk to him, like to understand what was this about. So basically, things are looking up for Von Wagner after all. And, you know, I thought that, you know, he was gonna hurt Mr. Stone, but it seems Mr. Stone's like, okay, maybe he just needed a kick in his ass. But, you know, that's probably a good thing. Now, our next match, we have the resident mean girl, Cora Jade, taking on Kelani Jordan. Now, this match happened because Cora Jade, as you know, had issues towards Kalani's mentor, Dana Brooke. And, of course, she thinks that, oh, having that one witch doesn't mean squat. But that's how it turned out. But, unfortunately, Cora Jade walked out with the win when she applied the DT. But, once again, as always, she tried to use a stick on Kalani Jordan. But, luckily, Dana Brooke tried to... It stopped her, but she failed to whack her. So, sooner or later, that's going to change somewhere down the line. Now, our next match, we have Braun Breaker and Ilya Dragunov. Now, you can say this as what JR would say. It was going to be a slobber knocker, no matter what the circumstances were. I mean, this match was insane, as it already has been. You couldn't expect a whole lot. I mean, they were going to beat the crap out of each other. You would have assumed that Ilya Dragunov would have walked out immediately, but no. Braun Breaker refuses to stay down. So did Ilya Dragunov. So that kind of puts it in a perspective, like saying, you know, that neither of men want to lose. But unfortunately, Braun Breaker did lose when Dragunov applied some sort of like a flying uppercut on the back of the head of Braun Breaker, giving them win. But this match, from what I failed to mention, this is a #1 contendership to the NXT Championship at the Great American Bash. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, we do see an interview with Wesley by Mackenzie. As you know, Wesley will be heading to the Great American Bash to challenge Mustafa Ali for the title. However, Dominic Mysterio shows up saying that he issued an open challenge, but he did, saying that I'm not doing those because that got out of hand. But of course, Dominic decided that he calls him that he thinks he's a coward. But Wesley, he decided to make it happen, so it's going to happen next week. Now, I highly doubt Dominic's going to win the title, because I wouldn't be surprised if someone's going to cost Dom the title once again. Now, our next match, we have Tiffany Strand versus Ivy Nile. Now, Ivy Nile hasn't been the same ever since now that the Creed brothers are gone, thanks to the dyad and all this stuff. But it did not do any well for her. She had Tiffany Strand in the sleeper, so basically it didn't work. But she picked up the win by applying the best moonsault, and just like that. However, fans are not going to let this one go. And you guys don't remember, Thea Hell had this match won if it wasn't for those two dipwads, the Gulak and Dempsey. When, of course, Thea Hell had Tiffany Stratton with the Kimura lock. They were all saying, "You tapped out." So she tries to fight it off, but it was no use. So this could lead possibly a possibility of another rematch between Thea Hell and Tiffany Stratton. So anything is a possibility, but we'll see where that goes. Now, our next match is the Freedom or Trial match. Stacks versus Joe Coffey. So basically, there was an interesting moment where, of course, Joe Coffey's main move, the Belfast, could have put away Stacks, but it did not. It turns out the whole thing was a setup by Tony D'Angelo. Yeah. Apparently, this whole thing was a setup from the very start. They knew it was Gallus from the very beginning, so this time it walked away. But Stacks applied one of Tony D'Angelo's tricks. If you guys remember the infamous crowbar, he used that on what's his name, on Coffey. But however, he tossed it to Wolfgang, pulling an Eddie on him, and he was ejected out. But however, something interesting happened during this match. Apparently, that the tag team division is now taking a very interesting turn when the sudden arrival of Lucian Prince and Bronco Lima. So we don't know what's that all about. But luckily, it was Stacks who walked out with the win with the pinfall. That means that Tony D'Angelo is free. So this whole thing with D'Angelo has now been set up to get even with Gallus. So we could see that down the line. They will probably get a shot of the tag team titles. Now, as you know, Ivy Now is very disappointed with this loss, but all of a sudden, Schism was there, saying that they're pleased that they got rid of the Creed brothers and are insisting that Ivy Now should join them. I highly doubt Ivy Now will definitely join them because we all want to see her succeed on her own. So we'll see what happens till then. Now, during an interview with Yulisa Leon and Valentina Feroz, I forgot what they were talking about, but they were talking about Noam Dar, who was supposed to do the Supernova session. Apparently, Noam is in a state of depression after losing the NXT Heritage Cup. But they were interrupted by the Lotharios, Carrillo Humberto and Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. But luckily, the ladies have their friends, Dragon Lee and Nathan Frazier. I wouldn't be surprised if those two teams will meet up somewhere. Now, our main event is Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Williams. Now, we all know how this could play out. I mean, Judgment Day. We had Rhea Ripley and Dom who could run interference at any given time. That's always been the case. But we'll skip ahead to that because we did see Rhea Ripley toss the briefcase to Damian Priest. Dragunov tried to stop, but apparently Hayes was trying to get her to attack Damian Priest, but accidentally hit Dragunov. I wouldn't be surprised if those two will end up fighting. But we'll see what takes place next week because we know Dom will be facing Wesley for the North American title, but I highly doubt Dom's going to win that match. But we'll see how that goes. Right now, let's just move on to our final thing, which is news updates. Alright, welcome to our news updates. So let's get cracking. So what we have. For our GCW updates, we have, for my name is on August 4th, it's now been announced that Jeff Hardy will be making his debut. This is going to be interesting. So I did not anticipate Jeff Hardy going to this, but I'm sure we're going to be paying attention to this anyway. Now, for our homecoming stuff, two announcements been made. One has been announced that, of course, the so-called Indie God and the King of the Death matches, Matt Cardona and Stephanie DeLanders, will be making their appearance at the homecoming event on the 19th and 20th of August. Now, however, a match has been announced for night one of homecoming, which is the 19th of August. There's going to be a dog collar match between Joey Janela and Sawyer Wreck taking on Charles Mason and Perro. So there's going to be a lot of hell in that particular match. Now, Wrestling Revolver announced for their Heat Up event on the 3rd of August. John Moxley makes his return to Wrestling Revolver. But however, a match has been announced for that particular day. We have Leo Rush versus Marie. Now I know for a fact these guys have met before, but that's going to be a different story. Now, more names have been announced for the Kitsune Women's Wrestling show that will take place in October. Magenta for Marvelous, Maria, and Rico Kawahara has been announced for both shows. Now, they just recently had a show with West Coast Pro for Cruise Summer. Now they'll be making their return to the U.S. again in October, but they were at the Bay Area, but now they're heading to SoCal. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, for DEFY Wrestling, the Spirit WC that will take place later on this month on the 28th, it was announced that Trish Adora will be in action taking on Cat Powers. And then there's going to be a tag match, Rebel Kel and Dulce Tormenta taking on Bambi Hall and TFA. And finally, for our West Coast Pro, another match has been announced for the West Coast Cup, Starboy Charlie versus Derek Dillinger. Then, of course, for the a participation announcement from the West Coast from the West Coast from Love, they'll take place on the 9th of September. Iron Kid will be making his appearance. So I don't know who this person is, but if you guys aren't familiar with them, so good for you. I think that's pretty much it what we have for our news updates. So I think that's pretty much it. So for right now, I'll say we just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have AEW Dynamite. I haven't decided yet if we are going to be doing another review, but I'll let you guys know. Probably I'll wing it this one, because right now I caught something in my eye at YouTube. I did not know that they had the New Japan Academy Showcase, so that is something I'm still considering to review, see what I thought about it. And also don't forget, this coming weekend we start the commencement of the G1 Climax tournament, so I'm looking forward to that. So we'll be seeing what takes place during that time, but let's just do what we have so far. But for now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.